Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in. We are here. It is Super Bowl week. Arrowhead Pride coming at you live, AP Film Room, here to preview Super Bowl 58 on the Facebook, on the YouTube, on the Twitter page. Appreciate you joining us tonight. I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site. Joining me, as always, my guy, Caleb James at CJ Scoobs. We do not have Nate with us tonight, but hey, that's okay. That's okay because it's all good vibes, all positivity tonight, Caleb. We're talking Super Bowl 58 again. We broke down the AFC Championship last week, kind of ahead of this game, but now it's time to talk about this game coming up Sunday. I mean, it's Thursday night, dude. It's kind of getting close. You feeling the nerves a little bit?
Yeah, man, and it's crazy. We've been in this situation so many times. I remember like the first time they got in, it was like super excited, couldn't wait the whole week. The next year was kind of weird because it was COVID. Last year, it's kind of like one of those feelings like, oh, it's building, it's building. This week, it's become such like this normal feeling. Like it did just kind of start to hit today, but like I watched the media thing on Monday, that's fine. A lot of those 49ers fans were giving the Chiefs the business already. So we'll see what things look like. I have a feeling, there's a lot of those Kansas City folks are going to be landing down in Vegas here in the next couple of days, probably.
Yeah, no, I imagine so. I mean, that's like you just said, like Chiefs Kingdom's been there, done that in these Super Bowls, man. They kind of know how it goes now. They kind of know how to roll. I think these Niners fans might have gotten there a little too early. I don't know if they can last 7 days in Vegas keeping that energy. I think Chiefs Kingdom might have a little answer for them coming in hot at that game. So I'll watch out for that. It's a good call. But yeah, no, we got Super Bowl Sunday up and coming. But that's the thing, man. We're talking Niners tonight. We're talking about kind of how the ways the Chiefs can maybe exploit them, maybe the ways we should maybe be worried about, what the Chiefs can match up with, because this Niners team is talented. I mean, it absolutely is. We've seen this team last year's regular season. A lot of the same core, right, is the same team from that Super Bowl 54, and the first time the Chiefs won it. So I think, to start off tonight, I think we got to talk some star power, Caleb, and I think their biggest star, right, it is Christian McCaffrey. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, they have so many big names on that offense. When you talk about Deebo Samuel, talk about Brandon Ayuk, you talk about, George Kittle, obviously, and obviously they're gonna, use all those guys. But man, I really do think it comes down to making sure Christian McCaffrey isn't a game breaker. And so you're going to be looking at kind of the ways that the Chiefs need to worry about him. What do you got for us tonight?
Yeah, man, let's just take a look at it because Christian McCaffrey's the real deal. Him and Trent Williams, they were not a part of the 49ers last Super Bowl team they had against the Chiefs. And
and honestly, Christian McCaffrey it was his first game on the Niners when they played him in the regular season last year. So he had some carries, but he wasn't really a part of the offense either at that game, at that moment either. So it really is kind of the first time the Chiefs are seeing him in this offense.
Right. And, man, this is like, I mean, they're a throwback football team. Kyle Shanahan's one of the best in the business. People can knock him or whatever. He's a heck of a play designer, and his teams, they're not finesse teams. They want to run you over. They want to hit you in the mouth as hard as you can. That starts with their guys. As important as McCaffrey is, I'm going to say that this guy, Kyle Juszczyk, number 44, they're lined up in the eye, just as important to their success. He is about one of the biggest keys to their offense that they have as far as their run game goes. But watch this play here. So they run a lot of toss. The Chiefs saw some toss from a similar offense against Miami. But let's take a look here at the top of the screen because they're going to run this toss. And the linebackers have been coached and trained all week. When you see 23 start heading out, you got to cut off you got to set the edge, cut them off, make them go back inside. So they start to flow hard. But this is a toss that's actually setting up like an inside zone type look. It's kind of just a variation off of like a toss ISO, except for with a zone blocking front. And so he actually takes it, off of the little toss there. And you see how wide some of these guys start getting because they're like, oh, we got to set the edge, set the edge, set the edge. But their offensive line, I think they struggle sometimes, but I also think they're a really good run blocking unit. You just take a look at right guard, center, left guard. They get their guys reached. Trent Williams gets his guy reached. And all of a sudden, you're starting to see something. There's a whole opening there. You can see it better now. And he's got one-on-one with a safety. And there's a reason why Christian McCaffrey led the league in yards after tackle or yards after contact this season. He is an absolute stud at doing this kind of thing when it comes to just making one man miss, and then he's got the explosion. he led the league in rushing yards. He had a 2,000 all-purpose yard season. The dude is incredible, and we're just going to keep going through a couple more of these here because I do have a lot of respect for the way that they play. They play
Dude. Yeah, I mean that play was nasty. First of all, and also just that the Chiefs are really a good tackling team in the secondary. Sometimes when you have an elite player like this, it don't matter, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter because I think that they played some teams that are, decent defenses got better. This is just from the playoffs. The only defense that really shut them down this year was Baltimore. That's not really the greatest comp in the world for the Chiefs because they do play a lot of that 34 look. But even just on a play like this, I mean, that's 15 easy yards. You take a look at it, man, McCaffrey's already a great back. You give him a hole like this that you're getting ready to see open up here, and you see this other really important guy, George Kittle, very good blocker. Extremely good blocker, second best tight end in the NFL. But you'll see here, now they're running this little zone look again, but it's kind of like an offset zone look. The Chiefs will run this out of shotgun, but here you're kind of seeing the 49ers do it under center because they want to play tight to the line of scrimmage. But you'll see he's getting ready to follow Kittle's cut, and you see the O-line, they're all on their angle. Colton McKivitz actually gets a pretty nice block on this guy. They're a good run blocking offensive line. Kittle gets his cut. They take care of the first level. And then it's just power ahead for a few more there. That's what they want to do, man. That is what they want to do, as often as possible.
Dude, how concerned are you with like not having a guy like Charles Omenihu to have on the edge for a game where like that dude just takes up so much space on like a backside cut, right? Or like, if even on the front side too. Like I feel like that's a huge loss.
It absolutely, makes me nervous just because some of the instances out there where you'll see him, he could set the edge really well versus some of these guys. And man, it does stink he went down. He was so good in the playoffs. He was so good down the stretch in the regular season that I do think it's going to be an issue. Now, I think the Chiefs got guys. I think Karlaftis is fine in the run. I think that Mike Dana's fine in the run. I bet Malik Herring's going to play some run. Malik Herring's going to play some snaps this week. 100%. But back over to CMC, other area you can't forget about him is the passing game. This is like an automatic check for Purdy because you see their linebacker sees him motion and he gets out there, but he's just a little bit late. And he actually notices it well. He gets there, but when you have to break down in space versus a guy like this, you have to get him down because he's so strong. His contact balance is so good. He'll drag you, and he's going to get close. And this isn't even him like running a route. This is just like him swinging out of the backfield, auto check from Purdy, which, I'll run it again here real quick. I also think that Brock Purdy's being underlooked by a lot of Chiefs fans this week across the board. I know that sounds crazy to say. I drew a comparison to this 49ers team with a friend of mine, good friend of mine, lives in St. Louis, and we were talking the other day, and I go, the 49ers right now, they kind of remind me of the Greatest Show on Turf Rams. And, when you think about Purdy and Kurt Warner's backstory, some Iowa dogs, pretty similar guys, the big underdog story. And, well, the GOAT beat Kurt. I'll get another. I'm going to show one more good clip, and then I'll show some plays because, to be honest, he got held under 100. These teams have been holding them under 100. Actually, we'll start out with a play that's blocked well, but I think something that's important here. And we'll start to kind of look at ways. Everyone knows how awesome this guy is. So how do you stop a great back like this? Okay. Really good block by Trent Williams. Kyle Juszczyk does what he can, and he's got space. But Detroit rallied to the football, and they attacked him on the sideline before he can really get going. And we'll take a look at it. It's all about your effort, and then this week is big for the linebackers, man. I mean, being able to have Willie Gay back, Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton, Chenal, they all have to be on. Jack Concord, if he gets spelled in, they all have to be on this week. Because you see how they're flowing, and you see the guards start to work up to the second level. You cannot get reached by that guy, and that's a really good job by I can't tell which of their linebackers that was. I don't think it was Jack Campbell. It might have been Jack Campbell. 46. I can't remember who that was. But, I mean, this is just a big week for the linebackers, but it's also a big week to get to the ball because you know what this guy can do when it comes to being shifty, when it comes to like being able to break tackles. And the good blocks by Williams and Juszczyk, that's as good as it can get. But they beat the O-line reach blocks at the top, and they're going to get him tackled. Not a big loss or anything, but still, against a back like him, you got to bottle him up because he is going to get some big yards. I'll try to
Well,
find us a couple more here.
yeah, and how many defenses that the Niners have faced have the base personnel, the three linebacker sets that the Chiefs can dish out, right? I mean,
Right.
even on that play, like that's a good play by those Lions linebackers, but man, Willie Gay, Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton, even Chenal, yeah, they're all going to be flying over to the ball even harder than I think you even saw in some of those in some of the plays against the Lions. I think this Niners offense really hasn't faced a defense like the Chiefs. And you've talked about it, but this postseason, I mean, these defenses are not even comparable in terms of the aggressiveness, the physicality the Chiefs defense plays with.
And how do you beat good backs, though? Block destruction. Take a look at number 95 right there, Devontae Wyatt. He's going against John Feliciano. I think I've identified Feliciano as possibly the weak link of the 49ers offensive line. I like that he's an interior guy because that means you could let Chris Jones possibly go to work against him. But he just beats him. He's clean off the snap. He presses him, sets the edge there, forces him back inside. Great play to really get in there and bottle him up. The Chiefs got to win at the first level this week. It's going to stink without a Minihue. But, I mean, if you're Chris Jones this week, you got to be, you're going to be more fired up. You don't know what your future holds. You're going to be coming out with your hair on fire, ready to go get one more. And give me just one more clip here on this. I had a good clip of them setting the edge versus him.
That's a good point on Chris Jones, though. Honestly, like he does have to play all three downs, like hair on fire, this week. I mean, and he's got to play discipline though too at the same time, right? Like in this kind of offense, a guy like Chris Jones maybe getting a little too penetration happy, right, and kind of just shooting a gap that can give them an advantage. So it's about playing with your hair on fire, but playing smart too.
Yeah, and just like you did against Baltimore last week, take the fight to them. They want to talk about, we got Patrick Ricard and all those guys that are going to bring it to you. Well, we got Juszczyk and Kittle over here, and the Lions just take it to both of them, man. They set the edge. They get lower man wins, and, then you start to see the linebackers flow, the D-line swarms. This is good. Now, this was an early play in the games, and, 49ers, they're going to have their adjustments. They always do. Shanahan's outstanding, but it just comes with this little stuff. Can you start to win the little stuff early? This could be Leo Chenal. You see 46 right there. This could be a big Leo Chenal situation this week. Is he going to be able to hold his own against these guys? I mean, They stuffed the Ravens pretty good last 2 weeks ago in the AFC title game. They're going to be playing a team that's got a real similar mindset with how they want to play, but against a guy like McCaffrey, beat the guys around him. But when you get to him, you've got to wrap him up. Do not let him get that extra yard because that's when he'll get you.
Well, before we move on, I think the last thing off of all that I want to ask is do you think there's an advantage the Chiefs have from playing Miami twice this year? Like, is that an advantage? Because I kind of think so. What do you think about that?
I asked that question because I've been thinking about it with McDaniel and Shanahan. McDaniel's offense is more around speed. These guys are more around power, punch you in the mouth kind of football. Yeah, I think there's pros and cons. I think against any other defensive coordinator, you got to say this probably favors Shanahan. But Spags is going to throw something out there at some point that no one's seen all season, so it doesn't really make a difference. And really, I do think the idea of being able to take away some of the middle of the field passing concepts, some of those seams and that stuff, it's going to be big. Being able to know, when you see Debo in motion, think of that like thick Tyreek, that's like, a thicker, slower version of Tyreek in some ways. And I mean, I would just say that I think it's even. But that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I don't think there's like a real clear advantage for that.
No, it is interesting because obviously, Mike McDaniel, the head coach in Miami, from that Niners system, they run a very similar thing. And I do think the Chiefs defense has played well against that Miami offense, kind of understanding. But you are 100% right. There's more speed in that Miami offense, more downhill with the Niners offense here. But let's flip to the other side. And before I start playing this clip, I did want to look back at the 2022 regular season on the Chiefs offensive side, just because, there was a lot of the same players in that Niners defense then, a lot of the same players in the Chiefs offense too. And, this Chiefs offense, is going to look back at certain things. Andy Reid knows how to, is definitely someone that's going to do that and kind of take stuff away from those games. And the one thing here that I think is something that the Chiefs do with any time they kind of go up against a defensive line where maybe, one guy on the edge is that premium guy. They really try to waste him. They really try to waste a guy like Max Crosby when they play the Raiders, right? And that's the same thing when they play Nick Bosa with the Niners. And I think, they did a good job with that in this game in 2022. So here you're going to see the quick play action, right? He's obviously got to hold his gap, got to play the run, and so he's going to be quick. But obviously, you got to get the ball got to get the ball out quick too, because he's a freakish athlete and he's just going to jump all over Mahomes. So I think they do a good job here, not touching him, letting Jet, just get enough of a chop block, and then you got Kelsey on the quick release. Boom, that's a big play. Here, they're just going to waste him, right, by not even blocking him on the jet sweep, which they did 3 times on this. They did jet sweeps 3 times against the Niners and scored all 3 times. I should say they scored 3 touchdowns on jet sweeps against the Niners, not all 3 times. They ran a jet sweep, they scored. But I just like the idea of, using his kind of, his aggressiveness against them a little bit. But on this play, it's not even really that. It's really like, he has to come out. He thinks he's about to get contact line of scrimmage. He doesn't, so he's kind of falling forward, like, oh, crap, what's going on? And by the time he can even, kind of pick himself up, the ball is already past him, because McCole has that kind of speed, and it's the quickness of the handoff, right? It's the timing. And this is where Mahomes, I thought I had the end zone angle of that. This is a different play here. But that's where Mahomes, and Andy Reid, kind of their, the play scheme, the design, getting the ball quickly, on a jet sweep or something like that can really.
Let this one play out. I think I remember this one.
Yes, sir. Let him get up. Let him get upfield.
The most athletic play of Clyde's career.
Yeah, great play, Clyde. And that's the thing, though, is like, this is where you really talk about taking advantage of Nick Bosa's aggression, because he just flies upfield, right? He maybe thinks it's a pass play potentially, but you just can't. As a defensive end, you can't give up that much ground for a play like this, because he's going to run right under it, and Trey Smith does a good job sealing his defensive tackle there. Clyde scores a touchdown. So that's what we talk about with taking advantage of a defensive end's aggressiveness like this. And this is another great example here of Jerick McKinnon, oh, I'm getting chip blocked, right? Oh, because they want me to, they're trying really trying hard not to let me get after the quarterback. Although I guess when you look at this here, it's like, it was pretty obvious they were setting up a screen when they were literally going one-on-one with McKinnon versus Nick Bosa, because Brown wasn't even really looking to help there. But again, here it works to their advantage. They take advantage of it. Big play. And so that is a big thing. Oh, wow, I just had it mixed up. There's the end zone angle of the earlier jet sweep, where Nick Bosa just, again, before he even realizes, because he thinks he's getting contact at the line of scrimmage, he thinks he has to hold his gap real quick. Before he even realizes the ball's past him, you're just wasting him. And the team and the Chiefs love to do that. But here's the thing: is Nick Bosa is still Nick Bosa, an animal. And so I just have a few clips of him just going to town on blockers and on this playoff run, because he is very good. And so the team is going to have to pay extra attention to him against the run and the pass. He's going to make plays. So definitely he's like kind of the Christian McCaffrey of the Niners defense, to be honest with you. Like, you have to pay attention to him. You have to have a plan for him. But when you get past just Nick Bosa and you look at the entire Niners defense, what really is important is that this team will run heavy zone coverage, loves to just go 4-man rushes and trust their 7 guys to cover up enough space and not let completions down the field. And so that's where we all saw it, guys. Earlier this season, this Chiefs offense struggled to complete passes against zone coverage because these wide receivers were not running disciplined routes. We're running, just kind of soft routes, or just not understanding how to sit into zone windows. And this is a great example of last year how that can be a problem against the Niners defense. Sky Moore just runs a terrible, lazy route at the top here, and it just allows the safety to drive on the dig route and pick it off easy. Sky's got to be like 5 yards shallower than that. It's probably a contested catch because the safety is driving on him. But this is a bad route by Sky, and this is where that aggressive zone coverage can really take advantage of lazy routes like that. So that's where this is just one example, but I'm not a fan of letting maybe Tony and Sky, into this offense, back in. I think this offense has really found a rhythm, Caleb. I kind of want your opinion too. Like, are you going to like kind of get shudders if you see Tony and Sky taking snaps on Sunday?
I don't think Sky Moore is going to take snaps. I just don't see them. I just don't see them playing either of those guys right now, man. Andy's a ride the hot hand guy. Do what got you there. You don't need to start throwing variables in. Now, if one of them wanted to go in for like McCole Hardman on a play, I wouldn't really have a problem with that. But I mean, just the Chiefs' formula has been their formula, Get it to Kelsey, get him schemed up, get some balls to Rice, run it with Pacheco, let your offensive line kind of control the clock and move the ball a little bit, and just, hit MVS once or twice in a big spot. Honestly, man, they're setting themselves up. Justin Watson's going to catch a big pass this week. They've been he hasn't caught a pass in a while. I have a feeling they're going to send MVS screaming down the field, and they might get Watson on like cornerback 3 or someone like that on the opposite end, one-on-one. You take a look at that. You turn on the gas a little bit there, but I'm excited for it. I think it's good to look back though to see how they played certain guys, because also, I mean, they're going to come out with a completely different looks here, and they're going to find ways to confuse them again. It's a lot like what they did in the first time they played in the Super Bowl, though. And if Bosa wants to talk already about getting held, then it must already be in his mind. That means he's thinking about those guys playing tackle. But the intensity the Chiefs' offensive line has carried themselves with through the course of the playoffs, I think, has been one of the big factors of this team that's been underlooked. Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey have really set the tone for what those guys are doing. And give credit to Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith. Rocky regular seasons, those guys have been nails in the playoffs.
And they'll need to be, because, Juwan is going to be going against Nick Bosa, I think, for the majority of the time. Bosa usually goes against the right tackle, it feels like. And, hey, Chase Young, I know he's kind of gotten a bad reputation this year, and he's deserved it. I think you see some of these plays, it's like, holy cow, like, are you even trying to make a play? But, it's a Super Bowl. He was a top pick at one point. Like, I don't know. You never know. Like, that dude could just turn it on. Like, Donovan Smith does have to be on his game. But I do want to go back to your point. This was actually something I had later in the clips. But you did talk about, hey, Justin Watson maybe getting free. That's the thing. This Niners defensive backfield is very vulnerable right now. And you mentioned cornerback 3. That's exactly who they can attack. Ambry Thomas, number 20, was an absolute liability against the Packers. He gave up 2 big defensive pass interference calls on long pass plays. You're going to see him on back-to-back snaps here. Not back-to-back snaps, back-to-back clips here, where, yeah, he just gets beat. And I mean, this one, he doesn't even really, get beat. Or, I mean, he does get beat, but, like, he just completely tackles the guy before the ball gets there. Like, this is someone that the Chiefs need to target with MVS and Justin Watson down the field. But at the same time, the Niners also have either a rookie strong safety, or in this case, it's actually 33 Logan Ryan playing safety. But in the NFC Championship, they switched to Jair Brown as their starting strong safety, who's a 3rd-round pick from this year. And I just think that's another way they can be exploited. Look, here he just completely doesn't pick up the crosser coming across. Again, this is a guy that is playing for Hufanga, right? That he was the All-Pro safety, but he got hurt. This is who they have in their place, either a Logan Ryan or the rookie. And again, I just think that's an exploitable matchup for the Chiefs to get on crossers, to get on, Kelsey maybe, or just Rice in general. So, yeah, those were some of the coverage plays I wanted to show. But let's back this back up all the way to, again, some stuff from this Chiefs-Niners game in 2022. The one thing that, again, the strongest part of the Niners back end, their back 7, is their linebackers. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw making plays, covering up stuff. So what the Chiefs need to do, and they love to do it, is just run plenty of misdirection, plenty of motion, and just try to open up that middle of the field that way, right? You see here, they run double, right? Double coming across 2 people, and it just completely opens it up. And if there's not pressure, right, Mahomes does kind of bail. He could have just stepped up in the pocket a little bit, because what you're going to see is Kelsey come wide open across the middle. And I just think that's what you got to have to do. And you're going to see here, you have a crossing route here. Mahomes, the play action fake to the right. Fred Warner's coming across. Dre Greenlaw's making a move. Or no, that's Fred Warner right there. And then boom, touchdown on the crossing route. So I just think you'll see a lot of crossing routes, a lot of misdirection, a lot of motion to kind of get Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw moving across the field and trying to open up those windows. And again, they have an injury at strong safety. It's going to be a rookie, Jair Brown, or it's Logan Ryan, a veteran who probably should not be playing or should be starting on an NFL defense anymore. He's probably a little past his prime. But here's the main thing I think that the Chiefs need to exploit, and what you were just talking about, Caleb, with the offensive line, is that this 49ers defense is just ready to get gashed. And the Lions did a great job of it in the NFC Championship, but it's not just the Lions. You can also see that the Packers did a good job with it. But especially the thing I wanted to point out with the Packers was they did especially a good job on outside runs. And I think you've seen the Chiefs find some success on these outside runs, these pull plays, right? You're going to see here, this was one of their biggest plays of the game. this isn't necessarily a polling, except the left tackle does pull around, but yeah, you've seen the Chiefs kind of do these, right? Where Creed Humphrey pulls into space, or they have these tight ends, getting onto the second level, and they have a guy like Pacheco who has shown an ability to find a seam, and Jones is much better at kind of wiggling and cutting back. He's a very smooth runner. Aaron Jones is a very underrated running back, but Pacheco has shown the ability to make the most out of those toss plays as well. And so I think that's one thing you're going to see with the Chiefs is they're going to get these guys going to the perimeter. And man, the Niners have been matching the Lions and the Packers, heavier personnel with 3 linebacker sets. And even then they're getting just absolutely mauled up front. And so I really think, even if they go nickel, even if they go 3 linebacker set, like the Chiefs can take advantage by getting their Noah Gray and even, if they want to get Blake Bell in these 13 personnel sets into the second level and opening up space for guys. But I just think even their interior defensive line, Caleb, like I think they have names, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, Sebastian Joseph Day is even getting snaps in the interior. But they're all kind of guys that can get pushed around a little bit and can kind of get moved around. What do you think about this particular aspect of the game?
I agree 100%. And one of the areas that, the 49ers built their defense to stop a modern NFL offense. And ironically, they played 2 teams in the playoffs that really rely on running the ball. And now they're getting ready to see a third team that has like this budding run game that's come alive the last few weeks of the season.
Absolutely.
Man, what Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith did to those linebackers in Baltimore, that was a special kind of performance. That's some stuff I'll never forget. And now they got a guy who I would argue is not as good a run defender as like a Roquan Smith is. And Fred Warner there, because you're seeing some of these clips, and Warner's fine, but he's more like he's going to be more of a coverage type guy. That's where he makes his big impact. What's going to happen if they come out and Creed's running right in his face like he was last week, We'll see. I'm sure the 49ers are already worried about all the holds that are getting ready to happen. So we'll just have to wait and see.
No, and here's the thing that doing this, playing against the base defense and really running well against it does is it sets up play action passes, and it sets up the ability to take advantage of number 48 over here, Oren Burks. He's their third linebacker and just not someone that is going to be a playmaker for them. And so that's why they may do some nickel packages, but that just plays into the Chiefs run game even more, right? It just gives them an advantage even more. All that to say, there is a very good chance for the Chiefs offense to control this game if they can really trust the run game and get it going early and often and do what the Lions and Packers did, like you said. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also, man, it's the Super Bowl. We talk about the superstars elevating their guys. Dude, it's the Super Bowl. If your 8th guy is a liability, then the other team can see it. If you and I can see where the problems are at, Andy Reid can see it also, man.
Exactly.
And I'm like, we've been in a Super Bowl where we had our 8th best guy. Our 11th best starter was Mike Rimmers. Well, guess what? That cost them the game that year.
Right.
And that we've seen that kind of a situation before. So
100%. I know it's that's the thing. Like this 2 weeks for Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. I know Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. I honestly, I probably should know who their defensive coordinator is. But 2 weeks for Andy Reid and Spags. That's a lot of time for those guys to be cooking in the lab. So, all right, Caleb, that was all I had. And you have one more thing for us before we break it down tonight.
Sure.
But yeah, we're getting there, man. And this Chiefs offense, I think, has a rhythm right now where I'm very confident in their side of the ball. So I do think it does come down to how well this Chiefs defense, does disrupt the 49ers offensive rhythm. I think, you already mentioned, how to stop Christian McCaffrey, but, even if he does get going, there's chances for the Chiefs to, create negative plays, create turnovers, just get into those a few third downs where you can really, send the pass rushers at Purdy and mix around the coverage. So I think it does kind of come down to the Chiefs defense, how, if they can continue their, strong play or if these injuries really do pile up, because they are missing their starting free safety, Brian Cook, and they're starting nose tackle, Derek Nottie. They're starting defensive end, Charles. The injuries are, a little bit piled up, but what do you got on 49ers offense?
They are missing guys. I still think they're going to be okay, though. And I've identified, I think John Feliciano could be a little bit of an outlier. He plays hard. He's really solid in the run game a lot of the time. He's a smart player. But at the end of the day, he does give up some interior pass rush, and that's against a guy that's not Chris Jones. Okay, this could be the biggest game of Chris Jones' life. Cincinnati last year was the revenge game. This game could be the biggest game of his life because let's say it's a slugfest and it's like a 17-10 game, but he has 2 or 3 sacks and the Chiefs pull it out. That's Super Bowl MVP type stuff. And how much money would he make if he got the Super Bowl MVP this season? That's probably what is going through his mind right now. So he's playing for all the money in the world. But all I'm saying is I'm trying to remember Buddy's name for Detroit here. Brent.
Is it
No,
Kaminsky?
It's not Brent Urban. Yeah, number 78. I was going to say Brent Urban. He's Baltimore, my bad.
Yeah.
But you see him, 4-eye right here. He's over McKivitz. We see Chris Jones line up here all the time. And you see off the snap versus Feliciano. It's pass play. He's kind of waiting. Feliciano tries to jump set him, but he is just poorly out of position, and he gets run over, and it's almost a sack, and you see Purdy almost puts it on him pretty good there, but the pressure is just enough. And like I've been saying this, and, I don't understand a ton of the Brock Purdy hate. I get it, but, I mean, you can't really knock what he's done this season. It's hard to, especially with the way his team's played, the way he kind of willed them to victory in some ways, the way he was running around out there. But like more traditional pocket passers like him, if you could really rush the interior of the defense, this is where you're going to find your success at. And also, the Chiefs' defensive line is going to have a couple of plays, and their secondary. Their secondary is going to create a few plays where it's just like we're blanking everyone. All right. And then it's like, well, we need Chris Jones. We need Mike Dana. Put Mike Dana inside a few reps this week and let him go to work. This is a big game for him also. This is his last football game before he's a free agent. These are big games. So Tershawn Wharton, he could come out and make an impact. So many different guys. And I just really strongly think that they can find success rushing both guards. I only have these clips of Feliciano, 65 over there. He's a little susceptible to like a speed rusher type guy. That might be where you maybe move a Turk Wharton in. This is where you wish you had Omenihu because you could line Jones and him up both double 4 eyes and really go to work on those guys. But, I mean, if you have great interior rush, it takes Trent Williams out of the equation for like his greatness. And he is great. I can't not talk about him. But here you see over Feliciano's just kind of inside guy. But, they got to play it. Look, you see at the top, everyone's covered up. There's nowhere for Purdy to go. He hits the top of his drop. But these guys for Detroit, they played hard for Dan Campbell this season. They're just going to keep coming. And he does just kind of walk him back. And when Purdy wants to run, they close in quickly and get him. Those are a couple of good football players. Those are a couple of good ball players I've shown here. But Chris Jones was the best defensive tackle in the NFL this season. He's going to be one of the hottest free agent commodities of all time for the sport, just based on the way he's played. And, what the Chiefs mean to him and what he means to the Chiefs, I have a feeling all the emotions, all of the excitement, it's all going to come out this week against the team that last time they played him, he put on a show against Mike McGlinchey. And they have another guy at right tackle who I don't think is as good as Mike McGlinchey is. So we'll see. Defensive line, they've played great all year. I bet Joe Colin's going to have them ready to go.
Yeah, and I think it is a fascinating part of the game because, if just like the Dolphins games, if the Chiefs can get them into 3rd and longs and can just get them into these situations where, just like you said, get Dana or Wharton one-on-one with the liability at guard because Chris Jones is probably getting double teamed on the other side of that. And as much as, I do want to see Jones go on McKivitz at times situationally, I'd love to see Karlaftis get a lot of chances to work him too, because I think Karlaftis can exploit him. But I think the key here, Caleb, and I'll throw it back to you on this. I just hope they don't go too much. I hope they don't do it at all. Jones against Trent Williams, like they really should try to waste him as much as possible. Just like I talked about with Nick Bosa, like put Felix and Udike Uzama over there, like and just let your other 3 guys just work on those other 4, or even if they're blitzing, a 5th guy. What do you kind of think about how they should kind of handle that side of it?
I think early on, they'll probably give Chris a shot or 2 against Williams. But if they start running that toss to the outside, that's where Chris can become a liability out there. So I would not do it on any critical passing down. If it's a 1st down and 10 from the 25-yard line, you think they're going to throw the ball, then put him out there and let's see what he can do. But Chris isn't stupid, and neither is Spags. They're not going to let their egos get in the way of this to say, oh, look how I beat this guy. they're going to go in there and they're going to, Chris is a smart player. He knows who he needs to be on to get his sacks and get paid.
Right. Oh, and I did want to mention that before we get out of here. I did check his incentives, and I will say, people, I don't know if this is, not a great sign, but he doesn't have any more incentives to earn because, except the, every player wins a Super Bowl gets a certain bonus, but his last incentive to get, he already got, because it's to win first team All Pro and the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, and he got that, but he gets another $2 million if he's named Defensive Player of the Year and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. So that's both, and he's not going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. So I don't know. There's no more incentives for Jones to earn in this game.
For him, though, as a defensive tackle, start putting together a Hall of Fame caliber career. If he gets 3 Super Bowl rings, he's going to end up with a gold jacket someday. Because, it stinks. But for linemen, if you win a lot as a lineman, you're going to have a better odds to get in.
Well, and, you kind of mentioned earlier, too, but, like, he is probably going to be a free agent. Like, the Chiefs probably are going to be, especially if he has this great game, like, he is probably going to be one of the highest paid defensive linemen in free agency history, like you kind of said. So, that's the incentive for him. Like, if he has a dominant game here, he is going to get all the money he wants this offseason. And it's probably not going to be in Kansas City, but I think he's ready for that. I think it's kind of, you can tell he's kind of, not in a bad way, just, he's kind of embracing it, accepting it. And that's only going to make him play harder on Sunday, I imagine, knowing could be the last time he wears a Chiefs uniform. So, dang, it's kind of a somber note to end on, Super Bowl preview. But we love our guy Chris. We hope we hope he makes all the money he can. And hey, there's plenty of other guys this team needs to sign, especially if they help this team win the Super Bowl this year. That's what we'll be hoping to see on Sunday. Caleb, I guess any final words before we kick it, get out of here?
No, man, this has been cool. This is my first full season at AP. Wrapped up. Been here about a year now, and they've been in both Super Bowls both times. So we've gotten to do the maximum amount of film breakdowns, the maximum amount of episodes. So it's been cool, man. I've been having a great time with this. And if they go out there and win, and I have a feeling the parade's going to be a real good time on Wednesday. You got to win first.
Yes, sir. Exactly. I know. Can't count them chickens before they hatch, man. Cannot do it. And that's what we'll be doing on Sunday, or from now till Sunday, is just being nervous, waiting for this game to get going. But appreciate everyone joining tonight. Appreciate everyone watching in. It has been a fun season. So win or lose Sunday, thank you for your following on Twitter, on the site. And yeah, if you ever, we'll have plenty of content this offseason. Caleb and I will be breaking down the draft, breaking down free agency. It's going to be a good time either way, win or loss this offseason. But let's get that win, Chiefs. Let's get that win Sunday. Make it a dynasty. Appreciate everyone joining tonight. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow the site. We'll have plenty of AP coverage coming up on the site. Caleb already has a CMC article out. I'll have an article detailing some of the stuff we talked about tonight out tomorrow. 5 things to watch. Got plenty of stuff before Sunday kickoff around 5:30. So, all right, Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do it. See you Sunday. Thanks all.